Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wumpa Time. My name is Gaia, and I am joined by the one and the only co-host, Shemp.
What's up, guys? Hey, Wumpa Time.
Okay, I think I need a new host. Give me a new one, please.
Hey, what's up, dude?
One that's less stinky, please.
Well, keep the stinky cast, the stinky podcast.
So, speaking of stinky, we're gonna move right into our favorite stinky pinata. And you know what? This pinata's it's been sitting in the closet for a little bit. It's been hiding, keeping away.
Yeah,
Now it's time. Now it's time to pull it out. It's time to pull it out.
Okay, here you go. You hit it. You want to hit it a little bit?
Oh, we're gonna hit it hard. Here we go. Our favorite pinata, Stadia. Woo!
Yay! Woo!
So,
how you doing? Get that dust off real fast.
Yeah, to brush it off and get ready to die. So we got two pieces of news when it comes to Stadia. None of it's positive. One is positive. One is positive depending on your point of view. So let's start with Google paying what they pay their developers when they want to ask for a port for a game. So you might be seeing that there's a whole bunch of ports coming to Stadia, and a lot of people are like, why? Why are people porting these games to Stadia? Because Stadia is just kind of seen as like this dead system. Why are so many games getting ported to it and not created and new games ported?
Yeah, just ports.
Yeah, Shep, you want to explain what's going on there? Because it's actually pretty funny, and if Stadia came to me to port anything, I'd say, heck yeah. Explain why.
Heck yeah, dude. So essentially what's been going on is, you see some pretty big games on Stadia, like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Destiny 2 and Cyberpunk 2077. It's like, okay, how are these selling points? Why are these developers like, oh yeah, I gotta have it on Stadia? Well, a typical budget for around a AA to a smaller AAA game, I would assume, is anywhere from the range of like upwards of $20 million plus, and that's the budget for the game.
Yes.
Well, to port a game, what if you paid the same amount of money just because you think that's what happens? So if Mr. Google comes up to Mr. Take-Two and says, can I pretty please have Red Dead Redemption 2? Here's $20 million. You think they're going to be like, nah, I'm okay. They're going to be like, all right, yeah, sure, hand it over. So they hand over their $20 million hot check, and then they give them Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's it. They don't have to do anything. They have the game's already there. You're not porting anything because it's a cloud-based game, so you're giving them the game to play on a server. So $20 million to play on a server. You can't say no to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why would you say no? Nobody would say no to that. That is hysterical. And the fact that they are just throwing out all this money for these ports, and now these are ports of games that have been out for a while now. Like,
yeah, quite a while.
All right, it's not like a port of like a brand new game. They're handing out $20 million to games that have like, I wouldn't say stopped selling, but are not even coming close to as much they sold before.
Can you imagine paying $20 million to put a game that's free to play on your service?
But I mean,
Destiny 2.
Here's the thing too. Could you imagine if you were going like defunct, like you're having a hard time, and then Google approaches you and gives you $20 million
just for fun? Like, hey, can we play your game on a virtual PC? Yeah.
And yeah, so whoever is the production budgeting manager of Stadia needs to be fired. In fact, all of Stadia should just be fired.
Just cancel Stadia. Cancel Stadia. Well, what's the other piece of news, dude?
Oh, the other piece of news. Oh man. So, Google has some, original games.
Do they?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, okay.
So,
okay.
They had, even though it was released first on PC, it was making its Stadia debut, was Journey to the Savage Planet. Now, Google acquired Typhoon Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Google acquired Typhoon Studios before the end of 2019, and the deal meant that Journey to the Savage Planet was one of the few games that came free with the Stadia Pro subscription. So it was a third party that was purchased by Google. Well, it was the very first studio, and they closed it.
Yeah, they're just like, you know what if we just didn't have it, you know?
Yeah. They just shut the studio down. So they bought the studio in 2019, and then just over a year later, they gutted it and shut it down. And this is where things get hilarious, though. So that you can still play the game though on Stadia. You can. You can still play it, except it's so buggy and awful. And it freezes on the main menu. It crashes. It goes to the loading screen, and you just left hanging. And the game, oh man, it is so bad. And guess what? Google can't fix it. You want to know why? Because they fired everybody.
They send out like an email to everyone. They're like, hey, so like, can we like are you free this Saturday?
Like,
we got this thing, you know.
It's just like, man, how can you can't write this. You can't write this. And people are like, hey, the game is not doing great. So according to Google, they have been trying to release patches over and over again. They released a patch on the 23rd. They have the full patch notes. But it is absolutely just awful. They're trying to... I'm trying to read here. I don't know what they're... So on Reddit this morning, a community manager for Stadia wrote that a patch has been released addressing one player's complaints. One player's complaints about freezes and during the Savage Plants main menu. Yeah, so it's really bad. So they tried releasing a fix. They might be trying to get their other companies to try to fix it, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good for Stadia right now, and I really think Stadia needs to go back to the drawing board or just go back to the dumpster.
Just, how about, it was funny when Stadia was being announced, and they had this big conference or this press event, and they had these consoles like just behind glass podiums, and one of them was the Dreamcast, and people were like, why is the Dreamcast there? And it all makes sense, if you're gonna honor a failed console, you gotta have a failed service.
You know what? I never would have thought that. It's poetic. It's poetic.
Honestly, it's like a tip of the hat to the Dreamcast. Thank you, Stadia. Speaking of tip of the hat, well, goodbye. One letter, one number. My favorite letter and number.
If that comment made no sense, you're about to understand why it makes no sense.
No,
E3.
we're moving on. Never mind.
E3. So, all right. So 2020 happened, and we're still feeling it. We're still on 2020 version 2 right now, between Texas literally feeling ice apocalypse, and it's only month 2. We're still, we're all still kind of dealing with COVID-19. And of course, one of the big effects of COVID-19, especially in the gaming industry, was that E3 was canceled in 2020. Now, that was a big shock to everybody because E3 was a way for everyone to... I remember we had you and I, we talked about this last year, where E3 was almost held like at such a high point in gaming where everyone gathered together and, in high schools, and would gather around computers and watch all the reveals, and everyone would live stream it together. It was just such an awesome place to reveal everything, right?
Yeah.
And they tried to plan a digital event last year, and it didn't pan out. It didn't work. It all kind of fell through, and they were just like, well, we're going to aim for 2021 then. So everyone's like, okay, 2021, fine. That's okay. Well, you might want to... So
I don't know, man.
So we're not sure. It's not officially confirmed as of yet. However, documents for an upcoming meeting of the Los Angeles Convention and Tourism Department Board list E3 as a quote-unquote canceled live event in 2021.
Woo! Sick, dude.
Yeah, so They said last year that we are transforming the E3 experience for 2021 and will soon share exact details on how we're bringing the global video game community together. And it says in the above document containing the note of it being canceled, quote, working with production team on broadcast options at LA Live LACC. So while there's still a chance it might come together,
don't get your hopes up.
Don't get your hopes up. And according to the Convention and Tourism Development Board document notes that they are working on 2022 and 2023 license. So E3 might be officially dead, because if they're thinking about the license in 2022 and 2023, like they're reconsidering, it's possible that this is it for E3. And I am sad. Because I never got to go to E3, and that's always been a dream of mine, to just go to LA
same.
and just literally blitz myself with video games.
Just be like, ooh.
That's it. It's just literally just just imagine a week of just nothing but just burning video games, please.
I'd be okay with that. Just do nothing but video games. Speaking of nothing,
we're moving on to
video games.
Video games developed by EA.
Okay, so a lot happened with EA. I guess I'll start with the one that I know, and then you can continue with the other stuff that I may not know. So,
okay.
Anthem, remember? Probably not. So, EA, they wanted to do basically a No Man's Sky with Anthem and call it Anthem Next, because they released Anthem and that was a problem. So they were gonna have a team of like 2 dudes make the whole different Anthem game, and it was announced like a year or 2 ago. It was a while ago, and people were like, okay, finally, maybe it'll look like the E3 trailer, because that's what modern gaming is. You release the E3 trailer and then they tell the devs, make it look like that. You've seen Watch Dogs. So E3 Next is a huge initiative. Everyone was super excited. We were getting constant updates like, oh, the game works. And everyone was like, oh my God, the game works. And then EA was like, it doesn't. And then they canceled it.
And guess what? That's not the only cancellation, because there's 2 more pieces of news about EA, but I am going to say one of them is good. There is one piece of good news, but let's get to the bad news first, because let's just rip the Band-Aid off. So EA had a game in development called Project Gaia, and it has been in development for 6 years.
Yeah, dude.
6 years, and they just pulled the plug. They just canned it.
Yeah, they were just like, you know what? This is too cool. We have to cancel it.
And it was, according to sources, it was a sandbox adventure, and it came out actually with the same news that the shutdown to rework Anthem. It was never formally announced. Gaia was teased in 2015 as a brand new IP in development at Motive, the studio behind last year's Star Wars Squadrons. So the project was shut down, and according to internal reports, it had been internally rebooted once.
Yeah, I'm reading up on it once, and it was made by the same studio that did Star Wars Squadrons.
Right.
And whenever they showed off the gameplay last year, it was super rough, and at that point, it was 5 years into development. And essentially, the way it's being described is like a sci-fi free-running take on Gary's Mod.
Yeah. So it's not good. So according to an anonymous source familiar with the project, who actually talked to Bloomberg about it, in 2018, the development team was also joined by creative leads from Star Wars Battlefront 2. And though cultural clashes created a tension that ultimately saw many of the game's directors leave for new roles at Ubisoft. So, and then
I'm sorry. Can I read this one bit that's really making me laugh? Studio head Jade Raymond left Motive to head up Google Stadia - a role she would end up leaving this month.
Oh man, that was a bad call to go to Stadia. Oh, that was rough.
Yeah, that was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. I'm out.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: could you imagine working on a game for 6 years? 6 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and it just going down the tank.
Yeah, you spend all this money and you have all these creative minds doing this really cool sandbox game, and everyone's getting excited, and it's like, oh, we got to reboot it. We've learned from it. Let's do it again. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, it's just gone. Like, I couldn't imagine that. Could you imagine working on one project for 6 years and then no one ever seeing it ever?
Yeah, the 007 remaster, which got leaked like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
That was pretty big, but I don't think this is gonna get leaked.
Yeah, no, this isn't gonna get leaked, and it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking because it's one thing to be working on a game for like a year or two, and then it getting canceled. That sucks. Like that really sucks. But imagine 6 years.
Like something that gets me too is that back then, like I guess like N64, even earlier, all the way to even PS3, when games were being developed, you would have constant physical copies of like, oh, this is the 1995 prototype build of Crash 1 on a disc. Oh, here's a prototype of this game, and then a beta, and then here's the alpha build of this. And then those would get leaked, and people would preserve them online so they could explore them and see how the game turned out and what it was before. They don't do that anymore because everything's digital. So who knows how many games that we'll never see because there's no physical media of it, just to sometimes get leaked, like the GoldenEye one, for example. There was no physical copy of that to begin with, so there was no need to make a beta disc. So the best thing to do is just put it on a server. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking, but there is some positive news when it comes to EA. There is some positive news. Shocker. Yeah.
Shocker, I know. And it's actually for one of my favorite game franchises of all time, unironically, so that was an extra breath of relief for me. So, Dragon Age 4. So, Dragon Age 4 is a game that I have been looking forward to for such a long time. Dragon Age 1 was my favorite Dragon Age. Dragon Age 2 can die in a hole. And then Dragon Age Inquisition actually did pretty okay. I enjoyed it. But it doesn't have as good replayability as Origins did. But still, it was good. It was a good game. I enjoyed it. Well, Dragon Age 4, the game that I have been super hyped about, is going to be coming soon. Now, Dragon Age Inquisition had a really weird multiplayer shoehorned into it. It didn't make sense. I never used it. Nobody used it. It was just absolutely just awful. Nobody liked doing the multiplayer Dragon Age 3 or Inquisition, depending on how you would call it. So, there was allegedly going to be a live service feature that was going to be enabled in Dragon Age 4 because EA, and if there's a live service, if there's a live service feature, you would know that would mean that would come with the optional DLC on day one and multiplayer with microtransactions. That's kind of what's going on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hold your hats because somehow EA did the impossible. They are removing the EA's live game mandate from Dragon Age 4 and telling the developers to only focus on single player.
Good. Yeah, the way it should be.
Yeah, I know. What?
Crazy.
I know. Isn't that crazy? But do you know the reason why they did that? The reason why they did that is because of the success of Jedi Fallen Order, because Fallen Order didn't have any live stuff, right? There was no online stuff for Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, and the deluxe edition of the game, which was like I think $80, came with like an extra lightsaber cosmetic, and that was it.
Yeah,
and it still sold better than I think it was Battlefield 2 or Battlefront 2.
Yeah, and I think they said that sales came in like their last recorded sales that they were recording for that game was 10 million.
Good Lord.
For Jedi Fallen Order, it was 10 million sales, which is fantastic. And because of how good those sales were, it showed to EA that they don't actually need a live game service. They just need a good single player game. And you know what? I am so thankful and so happy that EA's grubby little fingers in terms of money, because apparently it's like every game that EA releases needs to have an online play to it. Almost every single one requires some form of online play, and in terms of microtransactions and all that kind of stuff. And that's incredibly frustrating. That is very, very frustrating to deal with in single player games, which I'm going to go on a tiny tangent, and then we're going to move on to the next sequence here, or the next story. So I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right?
Uh-huh.
And I have not been so disappointed in the biggest Assassin's Creed game I've ever played. It is shockingly hollow. That's the best way I can describe it. Is it's hollow. And one of the things that's infuriating about it is that it feels like the best way I can describe Valhalla is, imagine trying to sit down and eat 8 trays of just cheese pizza, and that's it. It's a weird comparison, but it's very true. There's lots of content, but it tastes all the same. And pizza's great.
Yeah.
But
but it's like, I kind of want something different.
I want something different, or at least if you're going to give me that much pizza, give me pizza with some pizzazz. No.
No.
It looks pretty, but it's all the same. And that's one of the biggest problems with Valhalla, is that specifically when you're in England, which is the main map, which is most you spend your time, you're going to spend about 85% of your time in England. It's all just the same season. There's literally 3/4 of the map is green, and then the northern part is snow. That's it. It's just green.
Yeah, it's my favorite, content.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, and oh yeah, all the like viewpoints are just literally, the same churches in the same buildings, and there's no gigantic like viewpoints where you can dive off of and do the crazy jumps. There just isn't at all. And it's like, what has happened with this series, man? What is going on? And one of the things that you can do is you can visit the Ubisoft shop and spend actual money to get live resources in the game. And that makes me just want to pull my hair out and eat it. I am so... that makes me so angry that they're including this microtransaction heavy thing into a single player game. And it's hard for materials and stuff, and for materials that are hard to find. But the game is so unbalanced that I was able to craft my armor and my weapon set and then use it for the rest of the game. I was level, they have levels where it's like, okay, you can only enter this area if you're level 360. And
good lord.
Yeah, level 360. And I was level 220, and I was wiping the floor with the enemies.
Yeah, it's good game design,
Yeah, good game design, because I was like, oh yeah, this seems to work, and this is cool, and that's cool. And it just turns out, I guess, it's one of the most broken things in the game. And I didn't need the materials. I didn't need the extra materials, because why would I when what I'm doing right now works? And that is just counterproductive, and it's just sleazy to have those microtransactions in there for resources and for free stuff. Oh yeah, and they also don't tell you some of the outfits that you buy give no armor. Period. They're just cosmetic.
Yeah, they just look nice.
Yeah, that's it. But the thing is that if you can't use them in fighting, because you just die. Because you might as well be wearing a wet t-shirt.
Can I get the wet t-shirt mod for Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
That's exactly what's happening. They're like, oh yeah, you can wear Bayek's assassin suit from Assassin's Creed Origins. Oh, that's cool. How much armor does it give? What? How much?
How much what? Oh yeah, don't worry about that.
Stats? What are stats? So
ew.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you're spending money on stuff and you're getting nothing for it. It absolutely frustrates me. So before I continue, I'm going to throw it back to you, because this is your realm, and what we're about to talk about is your realm. So
yeah,
Sonic.
So Sonic, he's red and he jumps. Oh wait, so I think it was last week or the week before. I don't know, man. My frame of time is so off.
That's
but
okay.
there was a big hubbub on Twitter because Roger Craig Smith announced that he was not voicing Sonic anymore. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, Sega, why you fired him? It's awful. How dare you?" And a bunch of voice actors were also like, "What? That's stupid. How dare you?" It was weird. It was a big thing, and Roger stayed pretty quiet away from the drama and everything that was happening. And recently on the podcast Voices from Krypton, which is just a superhero based podcast, they had Roger Craig Smith on there, and they mainly had him on to talk about, do you want to reflect on voicing Sonic as well as your time voicing Batman and Captain America and Ezio and Chris Redfield? And you're like, yeah, let's talk about it. And he confirmed on there that he wasn't fired. It was his choice to walk away. He said that essentially, he even brought up the fact that people were saying voice actors don't walk away. He was fired. He said that essentially he was looking at where he was. He did Sonic for about 10 years now, and he said now is a good time. He doesn't. I think he said that I don't want to do this. I don't want to keep doing this. I did what I want to do. I had fun doing it. I want someone else to. I think it's time for someone else to come in and take over Sonic. And that's pretty bold of him to be like, oh, I'm voicing one of the biggest gaming mascots ever.
Right.
I think now is a good time to stop. And that's completely understandable. And another hubbub was that the voice actress of Tails, which is what was it? I think it was, what was her name? I feel so bad, I completely forgot her name. But the voice actress for Tails said that she confirmed earlier, she posted a picture of the new Tails pop that came out, and she was so excited, and someone was like, "Oh, so sad to hear that you're not Tails anymore." And she said, "As of now, I'm still Tails. You're not done with me yet." So she's still Tails.
Right.
But the thing is, it's cool that he said that he walked away and it was his choice, but it's weird to me that he did this right before all the 30th anniversary of Sonic stuff. Like, his 30th anniversary is this year, and he now decides to stop. Now, I'm wondering, how far into production is the new Sonic game, and have they even started recording the English dub, or is it primarily taking place in Japan, and the voice act? Because I know typically the voice acting for this stuff is like the last thing they do, so are they going to have to scramble to recast, or did they know already? Do they already have someone in mind? Why was it so close to the anniversary?
Maybe... You see, because there's it's actually kind of funny that we talk about this, because there was something I was watching the other day. It was Robert Downey Jr. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was just interesting about hearing his. I wanted to hear. I don't really care for Joe Rogan. I wanted to hear Robert Downey Jr. And I mean,
That's fair.
Yeah. Sometimes listening to Joe Rogan, I just want to it's insane to listen to him sometimes. But anyway, so I listened to the podcast or just the bits of the podcast, and Robert Downey Jr. was happy didn't want to do Iron Man again. They said, if they offered you Iron Man again, would you do it? And he said no.
Yeah, and I saw that too, and he said, everyone has a time limit. He even brought up Tom Holland doing Spider-Man. He was like, he's not going to be Spider-Man when he's 37. So there was a Spider-Man before him, and there's going to be a Spider-Man after him.
Right.
That's fair. It's just weird that every other Sonic voice actor was either ghosted or fired, and he's the first one to walk away, allegedly.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that he may have heard through the grapevine that he was going to get fired, and he decided to walk away before that happened, right? Maybe there were aspects to the job that we don't know about that Sega was pushing him on. We don't know. Maybe Sega was great to him, and he just really just felt it was time for his character, for his reign to end as being the voice actor of Sonic. There's a number of problems that could be, because the thing is too, is that why would you walk away from being a gaming icon in terms of voice acting and a secure job as from what we would assume, right? A fairly secure job.
Yeah. And to be fair, keep in mind, Sonic isn't the only thing Roger's doing. Like I said,
Yeah.
he still does Batman sometimes. He does Captain America a lot. He does Ezio. And he did a bunch of voices in Spyro Reignited.
He did?
Yeah, he did. He was one of the gear grinders. I remember one, and
that's awesome.
He retweeted when the game launched. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna hear me as a couple characters," and I was like, "That's really cool." And he was in Crash 4. He was what was it? It was Embryo, right? No, it wasn't Embryo.
No.
What was it, Embryo? Who was he? He was the guy that I had no idea was him because he did not sound like him. He sounded exactly like
it might have been Embryo. Yeah, then it would have been Embryo. Yeah.
Hold on, let me look it.
Yeah, because it was Maurice that did the original Embryo, if I remember correctly. I'm really bad with names. So
who did Embryo in like Crash of the Titans and stuff?
I can't remember. I don't know for that's the era of Crash where I get foggy. That's where I'm a little off on that when it comes to voice acting. I could probably see people screaming in chat right now.
He was. It was I just had it. It was Crash Bandicoot 4. He played Dr. Nitrous Brio. Yeah, he was Embryo.
Yeah, so he's Embryo. Yeah, he did such a great job.
He did such a good job because I thought it was the guy in Insane and Crash of the Titans and stuff because he sounded exactly the same. And when I saw that it was him, I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. No,
there's no way.
Yeah, he did such a okay. So Maurice LaMarche did the original Embryo in Insane Trilogy, which was Maurice LaMarche. So the fact that he was able to do that, which is absolutely insane. Like Maurice LaMarche also he also voiced Brain in the Animaniacs 2020 show.
Yeah. He's a really famous voice actor alongside Roger. And Roger's pitch is amazing to go from someone like Sonic to Batman just because two completely different spectrums of vocal range.
Oh, absolutely. Like you got like Richard Horvitz, who's like he's really good, but you can tell it's him. You can tell it's Horvitz.
Yeah, you can always tell it's him. With Roger, I can always kind of tell, like when he does Batman and Captain America, it's like, oh, that's Roger. But with Embryo, I was like, no way.
Like the range on him was absolutely like when I heard Brio, I was like, oh, they got the original voice actor back. It sounds exactly
me too.
like him.
That's what I thought.
and then I found out on Twitter. I'm like scrolling through Twitter, and all of a sudden I find out, oh, it was actually I remember it was Roger, and I was like, wait, what? No, what? No,
yeah,
I remember.
We both freaked out.
Yeah,
we were both like, no.
Yeah, I remember specifically. I didn't even see the tweet for it. What I saw was Wumpa Gem. Wumpa Gem had made a reply to Roger Craig Smith saying, "Oh my gosh, you sounded so great as Embryo," and I was like, "What? Huh?"
No,
and then I clicked the reply and I went through the thread and I saw it and I was just like, "Wait, excuse me? What do you mean? What?" No, so I mean, he did such a great job, and Roger Craig Smith, he might have been hired on for another job that was even bigger than Sonic, that required his full time. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I have to show you. I found another character he voiced in Spyro. He voiced one of these guys.
Take a look.
Satris, I think his name is. He was
He voiced it was the okay, so he voiced in the oh my gosh, Hills, Fractured Hills.
Fractured Hills.
Yeah, Fractured Hills. He did the centaurs, or not the fawns.
Yeah, he did the Scottish bagpipe fawns.
That is hysterical. No, that is great. Some of these voice actors have such a crazy range, and it's insane.
And I'm looking at his thing. He was in Yakuza Like a Dragon. He was in Bugsnax. He voices Jones in Fortnite. He was in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And dude, it's so weird. He was in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, which was his last credited role as Sonic, which was 2020. That game came out last year. So he did Sonic last year.
Right.
And he decided now, okay, that's it. I did Forces, Team Sonic Racing, Puyo Puyo, everything before, even Smash Brothers. I think now is a good time. I don't know. It's weird. I'm excited to see who's next. All I hope is that, one, they sound good, and two, the writing isn't awful, because I'm playing through Sonic Lost World again, and God help him, Roger's trying to do his best. But, dude, I don't know if I told you about this, but Lost World was like when Japan got the script for Lost World from America, they changed it because they were so embarrassed. So the Japanese version of Lost World, the script is completely different.
Oh, they're like, wow, this is awful. This is the best
They were
you
like,
come
what?
up with.
What is this? No. So yeah, so there's that. But yeah, you know, I'm excited to see what's happening. Enough of Sonic. Let's talk about Final Fantasy real fast.
I'm confused.
Like,
hyped, but confused.
Okay, I have a lot of clarification because my coworker is a massive Final Fantasy nut, and first off, I'm sure everyone who's seen this knows about the Final Fantasy stuff. Final Fantasy VII is getting a port, but it's also getting a port to the PS5. But it's also getting a new story with characters from what's the game called? It's not Dirge of Cerberus. I thought it was something else.
No, I thought it was Dirge of Cerberus.
It is. I'm sorry. It is Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah.
So people were clamoring for a sequel to Dirge of Cerberus, and here it is. And the funny thing is, I learned is, it's called Final Fantasy VII Remake, and they called it that to get people to play it, so they could tell them, hey, it's not a remake. It's something completely different. And then during this Final Fantasy blow-up announcement, they announced the actual remake, which is coming to it's just a remaster, but it's coming to iOS and Android, but it's coming to Switch and PS4 and stuff. Yeah. But it's the classic game with updated models, and you know, it has the chibi form whenever they're running around the overworld, and when they're going in battle, it's actually the PS4 models, on mobile. It looks crazy.
I did not see that because I actually had to dip from the interview. I had to dip partway through the Final Fantasy VII show because I had an interview and I didn't go back and take a look at that. So this is new to me. This is new to me.
Okay. So let me get all the announcements real quick. So one of the announcements that, before I forget, is that they announced that they're turning Advent Children into a game. So that's gonna be an entire game. Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, Final Fantasy VII 2, whatever you want to call it now, is it's currently in development, and it's not called Remake anymore because it's not a remake. If you play the game, you know it's not a remake. The PS5 version is called Integrate, so it's going to have 4K, 60 FPS. It looks buttery smooth.
Yep.
It's going to have a bunch of DualSense features. It has a new difficulty setting called Classic Mode.
But
faster load times.
They already had Classic Mode. That's where...
New difficulty setting for Classic Mode.
Gotcha.
Provides new ways to play. And then we have the separate mode with Yuffie, I think her name is.
Yeah, that's the $10 DLC.
Yeah. So that is basically the sequel to Dirge of Cerberus. And then we have Final Fantasy Ever Crisis. I'm sure you saw that. So essentially what they're doing... You did? Okay. Oh, good Lord. Okay. So they're remaking Ever Crisis along with the Final Fantasy VII, and it's essentially like the exact same game, but in chibi form, like the Final Fantasy VII Overworld was. So essentially what they're doing is they're releasing all of the games that we never got localized and remaking the other games. So first it's going to be Final Fantasy VII on mobile. So far they've only announced mobile, but then again, Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition was only iOS and mobile, and then they put it on the Switch and PS4 and everything. And I think that's the preferred way for everyone to play. So we're getting Final Fantasy VII first, and then we're getting Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, and then we're getting Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and then Dirge of Cerberus, and then what's the PSP game? Is that Crisis Core?
Yeah, that's Crisis Core.
Yeah. So Crisis Core is coming out also. So we're getting
blitzed. Like,
oh yeah, it's hilarious because people were so upset that they didn't actually remake 7, that it was a completely different game. So then they were like, okay, here's 7, and then everything else.
It's so now everyone's just, it's like it's like that gif where you see all the pancakes coming to the woman, and she's like it's like wow, that is a lot of content. I didn't realize it was that much.
And did you see Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier?
No. What?
It's a mobile game, and it's a PUBG clone, but it's Final Fantasy. And I'm so excited. I'm gonna send you the link for it. But
Square is literally just like everything.
Well, the thing is, with There's a Cerberus, it's a third-person shooter. And when interviewed about it back in the day, they're like, why did you decide to make it a third-person shooter? And they were like, well, Call of Duty makes money. And we were like, we want money. So,
money.
We did what they did and made money. And, yeah. So now they're doing PUBG/Fortnite. So you can soon play as Yuffie and say, where we dropping, boys? On mobile.
So weird.
Yeah, and it's using PS4 models, and it's weird to see that on mobile, but yeah, and obviously they're making this for the Chinese market because these games are huge in China.
Yeah.
And I'm watching gameplay and I'm seeing Chinese writing, so it's like, okay, that's where they're prioritizing it. I'm sure it's made by the same exact Chinese company that did all the other games. Tencent. So, yeah, we have that, which is Final Fantasy First Soldier. Are you keeping up? I'm sure you are. So then we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then Remake Intergrade, Advent Children, all the remakes for all the older games, and yeah, that's it. So questions?
So there is one more thing I want to add on. There is one thing that you didn't mention.
Okay.
Aha. So I got one thing to add to this one. So if you guys don't know, if you guys are interested in Final Fantasy VII, but you don't want to pay the full price for it, that's okay, because Final Fantasy VII is now coming to PlayStation Plus. So as a monthly game. Now there is an issue here. You can't get the free PlayStation 5 upgrade with that digital download. You have to buy the game to be able to get the PS5 upgrade, which that makes sense because...
Yeah, that's fair. This is a big game. You don't want to give the upgrade for free.
Yeah, no, it's a big game. It's like 86 gigabytes. It's ridiculous on my hard drive. It's massive. So there's a lot of Final Fantasy stuff coming. So if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, you have more than enough. And I need to go back and take a look at the end of that direct to be able to really recollect everything. Because wow, I missed a lot. I thought I thought that's it. Okay, I gotta go do my interview, and then it turns out I missed 3/4 of it.
What I'm excited for is on PS5, the slums won't look like a PS2 game. Because that was my biggest issue, is that
the textures were pretty bad.
Dude, the textures, the geometry, everything was... If you weren't in a reactor mission, it looked awful. And it looked like those old PS3 Unreal 3 games where you go a little too fast and you're waiting for everything to load and then it never loads. Do you remember the door? How the door...
That one door, it never renders. It never renders.
Yeah, the door... Dude, I'm so excited for them to fix door on PS5.
Dude, when I did a live stream for Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 5 not too long ago, probably about a month and a half ago, just to test it, and dude, the door still didn't render. That door, we all know when it is. We all know when it is when Cloud is at the hotel, door. Right to start, the door just won't render.
Spider-Man had Puddlegate. Final Fantasy has
Doorgate. So now we're going to move on to the final topic, which took the world by storm because, man, the past 2 weeks in terms of directs has been crazy. So the PlayStation had a state of play, which was mediocre. The Nintendo Direct, less than mediocre.
Yeah. It was there.
It existed. So the state of play was eh. The Nintendo Direct was more eh. And then Pokemon walks up and is like, cracks her knuckles. Yeah, cracks her knuckles and says, let's do this. And so first off, they do a 10-minute intro just showing off literally every single peripheral that has ever existed for Pokemon, which was adorable. I guess,
yeah, it was cute. I know they were doing that to let people come in, but it's like, dude, come on, it's been 10 minutes. Just show me something.
It definitely was long. And then they turned around and the first thing that they showed off was Pokemon Snap and all the different features, which, by the way, I love Pokemon Snap, and the fact that they're actually bringing that back, I am so excited. I pre-ordered it today.
Oh, really? Yeah, I remember people were clamoring for it for the Wii U back in the day because everyone wanted to use the tablet as like a camera because that's what you did in the Fatal Frame game. And it's like, I want it. And can I say I'm excited for Pokemon Snap? I hate the name because like whenever the game is like 5 years old and we have like, you got a used copy of new Pokemon Snap? You want a new copy? No, a used copy of the new one? Yeah. Because people already do that with older games. Like, you got the Mario game? Well, we have new Super Mario Bros. Wii. And like, no, I want the old one.
Dude, I felt like awful for my friends that worked at EB Games when they announced the new Call of Duty that was just called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And
oh, yeah. You're like, dude, I'm so sorry.
I literally was talking to the manager right when they announced it, and I read the press release because I got sent to my phone. They're like, oh, yeah, new Call of Duty announced, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And I read it. I had read it to her, and she was just like, had her hands in her head. She's just like, how are we supposed to tell people the difference? She said, we're going to have old people come in and say, I'm looking for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. You're like, all right, for the PS3 or the which one? And that's awful. So yeah, I understand the name is bad, but dude, the game looks so good. It looks,
oh yeah,
oh man, like for a Pokemon game, it looks so amazing. And I am just going to be geeking out on it. And then they turned around and did what people have been asking for, and they released the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Not the most original names, but you know what?
You know, the names are fine, but the logos are awful. But luckily, the negatives stopped there. For us, at least. The internet can continue to be on fire, but I don't mind it. It looks fine.
It looks good to me. I like the look of it. I think it looks really good. I love the chibi in the overworld and then the full models in-game. I think that is something that is absolutely awesome.
Now, can I voice a major concern for me for the game?
Sure.
So, you know, I liked what I saw. It was cute. It was adorable. I like what they're doing by keeping the aesthetic, just making it chibi. And then they announced like it's being developed by ILCA, and I was like, okay, well. Who are they? And there's no info on them. And then I did a little more research. ILCA is I Love Computer Arts Incorporated. And if you go to their games they've worked on, you see some pretty big ones like Code Vein, Nier Automata, Naruto Shippuden, Godzilla, Yakuza 0, all these major games. But they didn't develop them. You know, what did they do? Well, essentially, they're an asset team. They make pizza, burgers, and trees, and they give those assets to the companies, and they put them in the game. That's what they did. And I did I did more and more research, and I saw, quote, these new Pokemon games are going to be the first games as the lead developers.
You know what? I think that this would be something that is... There's layers to this. There's layers of I would say positivity and mystery. Yeah,
because like it's cool. Well, my question is like, Nintendo higher ups are like, you know that team that made that pizza? Yeah, give them the game. Let them make the game. That was a good looking pizza.
Remember when we needed a door hinge model? That team, but
those guys know what they're doing.
Well, I don't know what happened internally, but let me tell you something. Is that this is actually something that's a shock because the fact that Nintendo and or Game Freak is actually allowing their game being handled by a new team.
Oh yeah. I agree.
That declares something to me. That tells me something that like, hey, they are trusting, arguably. One of, if not like the biggest IP in the world in terms of when you include everything, when you include the merchandise, the anime, the licensing, Pokemon has to be one of at least the top 3 pieces of media in the world.
Well, it's interesting because Game Freak is developing the game that we're going to talk about in a second. Yep. Because that, as people know, that's the Pokemon developer. Yep. And then we have the pizza team making remakes of 2 DS games, and then Pokemon Snap is being developed by Bandai Namco, which they've done work with Nintendo before. They're not a Nintendo company. They publish games on other consoles, but Pokemon Snap is being handled exclusively by Bandai Namco.
Right.
So that makes more sense because they're a major developer and publisher, and they've worked on Smash. So I mean, you can work on anything.
Did they work on Pokken Tournament? Was that Bandai?
Yeah, because I think that was Bandai. Let me double check that. But you know, they work on everything under the sun with Nintendo. Developers, they did. Bandai did Pokken. Yeah.
So they've done, like, this is not Bandai is familiar with Pokemon. This is not their first rodeo when it comes to Pokemon. But the thing is that this I Love Computer Games company, this is not only their first rodeo with Pokemon. This is, or like at least as a lead developer, this is the first rodeo as a game developer leading, period.
Yeah.
Could you imagine telling people, the first game I led development on ever was Pokemon? Like,
and hopefully it turns out good. Because if you brag about that, you're like, which one? You'll be like, the one where you catch Pokemon.
But so I am excited for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Like I said, the names are a little unoriginal. Like, I like the Alpha Ruby or Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. That was kind of like, or Heart Gold and Heart, the stuff like that and Soul Silver. That stuff was really cool. It's a little plain, but the thing is that I think it looks great. One of the things that I noted, which is really weird, I actually screamed on stream, was in the battle sequences, the area that you fought in, like the environment, it looks dynamic and great, because a lot of the battle areas that you would always enter in, it was kind of plain Jane, and now it's like it looks a lot more dynamic and it looks a lot really cool. And it's so funny, like some of the Pokemon fans screaming online, before all this came out, it's like, we want originality, but we also don't. Remake it. But
we want originality, but we're scared, so don't be original. And then they aren't original. They're like, why aren't you original?
It's like, man, this is like, man, I don't get it. I don't get some of these people screaming about it. Like, it's a remake. It's a remake of what you wanted. What's the problem? And it's hysterical to see people freaking out about it, because they're still going to buy it. That's the funny thing. That's the funniest thing, is people are screaming and yelling about it, yet they're going to go buy both copies. And it's like, man, what are you doing? So we're going to move on to the next part, which
the big one, the big part.
One, Pokemon Legends Arceus. The Pokemon game that literally has been the dream of every young Pokemon fan for decades. An open world Pokemon game, and not a spin-off.
No, not a spin-off. It is a main game.
Yes.
And it's set 1,000 years before any of the games we played so far. So they're like no national dex, no nothing, not even a Pokédex. It is strictly Pokemon. You in a big open world, you're catching Pokemon, you're battling Pokemon, and it's like you know the meme of people. Like back in 2012, they were putting like Mario and Kirby and Link in Unreal Engine 3, and people were like, Nintendo hired this man. Nintendo hired that man.
Yeah, it's true though. But the thing is that it's like, okay, it's literally the Pokemon meets Breath of the Wild. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with that. That is perfectly okay. And the concept is basically you are in the Sinnoh region, and they both take place in the Sinnoh region. And basically how it works is that you are going to be basically collecting the very first Pokedex on paper. You need to capture all the Pokemon in Sinnoh and basically write them down and study them and such. And you need to catch the game.
Draw them on paper and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, this is absolutely spectacular. And there's still Pokemon battles. There's still capturing Pokemon, but it's like, instead of like throwing a Pokeball and you have to aim the Pokeball, you have to catch it, you have to hide in the bush. In the gameplay that we saw the character hiding in the brush and then firing a Pokeball and capturing a Shinx. And it's like, wow, that is incredible. Now, there are criticisms across the board about it because, some of the animations look awful.
Yes, I mean it is very early, and
Yes.
my biggest thing is like it's on the Switch, so this big
Yep.
open world game that isn't cell shaded like Breath of the Wild looks extremely muddy. Like
Yeah.
all the textures look gross and like smudgy and blurry, but it's on the Switch. There's nothing you can really do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there won't be any N64 trees, so people can't complain about that.
Gotta bring the trees back, right?
Yeah, I want my N64 trees.
Tree gate. A lot of gates today. But no, you're right though, is that this game's a long way away. And I remember I made a big rant on this on Twitter because people were saying how trash it looks. And I'm like, guys, wait a second.
Chill. Yeah, chill, please.
Chill. If you go and look at, like, for example, if you really want to see something that's really funny, go look at the launch trailer of Spyro Reignited, or the announcement trailer. The lighting is awful. The lighting is orange everywhere, dark and orange. And then look at Reignited's launch trailer and look at the difference within 6 months.
You can say the same thing about Crash Insane's like announcement trailer. Everything was just gray. Like there was no color. It was just a black and white abyss.
Yeah.
And the gameplay was extremely slow and everything was bad, and then they changed it like 5 times and they were like, okay, we've fixed it.
Yeah, but you see that's the thing is that a game will go through so many iterations and so many developments. When a game is over a year away, right? The thing is that over a year away, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just chill, relax. And also people comparing, look at Link's Awakening and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and look how Link's Awakening looks better. I got 2 comments to say about that. First off, number 1, Diamond and Pearl is also a long way away. It's coming out late 2021. Yeah. There's still like 8 months of we're on month 2. We're on month 2. Okay, we're on the 2nd month, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and I can still say that because it is the 28th of February. It is still month 2. Okay, come on, give them a break. That's 1, and 2. Link's Awakening ran like hot buttered butt on the Switch. It was not good. It had frame pacing issues that were just so terrible. And there was this motion. It was like this circular motion blur on the ends of the footage.
Oh, yeah. My favorite. Yeah.
It was like, what was it? It was, I can't remember what the term is, but it was awful. It was like the corners of the console were blurred out with motion blur, and it had frame stutters, frame rate issues. It was not good. So the thing is that A, there's still time left, and B, guess what? Link's Awakening, they just showed a still image and said, look at the difference. I'm like, Link's Awakening ran bad. It was not good.
It's, and you also have to realize, like, that's it. It's just, it has so much development time, and in Legend's case, it is an open world game. Like I was watching the trailer just now, and I saw that when they were like 2 feet away from the Pokemon, their animations jumped to like 15 frames a second. It's extremely noticeable, but they have to do what they have to do until they optimize it better.
Right.
And I think Breath of the Wild did the same thing. The further you got away, their frame rate went lower and lower. GTA does this. Spider-Man on PS5 does the same thing. Yeah. You could argue that they're farther away, but it's a common practice, and you're on the Switch, so you kind of have to deal with what you got. But it's weird to say, I'm excited for Pokemon again. I bought the double pack of Sword and Shield. I still haven't beaten it just because I don't care. My biggest thing with Sun and Moon is that I've said this for years, but Pokemon Sun and Moon is the best visual novel in the series, and Sword and Shield are rivaling it pretty closely. Because I haven't played it in over a year, and I put Sword in my Switch, and I was like, I don't know where I am, and then I took it out and played something else.
That's where you restart. And that's the thing, though. I did enjoy Sword and Shield, but I found the replayability not good. Like, I found, like, after I beat because I did beat the game. I beat the game because when I was first playing, I was like, I love this. I love being out in the open world. But then afterwards, I just wanted to be there. That's all I wanted to go. I didn't want to go anywhere else. I was like, I just want to stay in the overworld and catch Pokemon and do raids and stuff. And that was it. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. And because of that, I just kind of stopped. I just kind of stopped playing because that was all I wanted to do. And I feel like that this Pokemon Legends game is going to be catering a lot more to that aspect of that open wild area, and I think that that's going to be really awesome. And like you said, I'm excited for Pokemon again. And unfortunately, though, what I'm not excited about is that's all the time we have for today, though.
That's it. I'm leaving.
That's Thank you all so much for listening, and we really appreciate it. We are on every podcast service likely available, or at least the ones that people normally know. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, and we are on the one that I always forget, the one that we actually live our thing from. Not Audio Jungle. What is it again?
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. There it is, man. I'll get it right one day. You guys can check us out there. If the platform that you are listening on has a capability of reviewing, please leave us a review and let us know what you think about it. We really love reading them. We love hearing your thoughts. If you guys got a question for us, make sure to tweet us at Canadian Gaia or at Shemp Official. Go follow us as well with hashtag Wumpa Time if you guys got a question. Is there anything else? Am I missing anything?
No, I believe that's it.
Okay. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Bye.
Bye.